The experiment requires that you continue. It is absolutely essential that you continue. You have no other choice. You must go on. This dialogue was taken from the Milgram obedience experiment, which was a study observing people's actions when an authority figure prompts them to do a sinister task. Now, the highlight of this experiment essentially tells us that innocent individuals, when pressured by authority figures, can easily break down their moral barriers and engage in harmful acts, even actions that can risk human life.
Baby, why did you leave me? Why did you leave me behind? I don't know where you're sleeping, but you're resting on my mind.
Hey, my name is Aiden, or Aso, and you're watching part 2 of this continuing series on the Today's Mission ARG, created by Freakbit. And if you need to catch up on the lore, go ahead and watch part 1 right here. There is a lot of lore, and I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, as we're aiming for 100k by the end of the year. That's a lofty goal. Plus, you really don't want to miss out on this series. There is a lot coming, so drop a sub. Now, it's kind of hard to pinpoint how the Pilgrim experiment may relate to this ARG, but I think I have an idea. It may be alluding to Voidman, Reggie, and Lime, and how they could be taking part in some sort of morally flawed experiment, and the people observing the experiment were instructed by some authority figure, and in this case, Demiurge Inc. would fit perfectly as our suspect, organizing this entire evil experiment. And interestingly enough, Freakbait posted this video right here, an advertisement for Demiurge Inc., which may unlock many of the questions that we've had about this strange company. So let's dive in.
At Demiurge Incorporated, we push the boundaries of innovation and exploration. Our cutting-edge research redefines what is possible, unlocking the mysteries of the universe and existence itself. With over 3 decades of pioneering breakthroughs in quantum mechanics, dimensional study, and applied reality theory, our work challenges the limitations of known science. We venture where others won't, exploring new frontiers in fields such as temporal mechanics and void space navigation. Our world is more interconnected than ever, and at Demiurge, we believe in connecting the unseen. Demiurge Incorporated. Discover the future. Shape reality. The void is waiting.
This video tells us exactly what Demiurge Inc. was about, if it wasn't obvious yet. A bunch of space and a bunch of physics, but an important detail that we should not look over is this URL right here, demiurgeinc.com. And when searching this up, we find ourselves at the landing page for Demiurge. They are very quick to shove their achievements and goals in our faces, highlighting that they are pushing their projects as far as the human mind can comprehend. They also mention that Demiurge is a team of world-renowned scientists and engineers. They also value humanity, and on top of that, they're investors, which can easily go sour for a company like this. They mention that they do work for numerous industries, such as being the forefront of governments, aerospace, and telecommunications. But they also dabble in weapons manufacturing, which in many cases isn't exactly good for humanity. I mean, imagine mixing reality warping quantum physics with weapons. Not too great. They end this off mentioning that they have benefited many other industries, such as healthcare and entertainment. And apparently, Demiurge Inc. can provide services and abilities of which no other laboratory on this planet is capable of. Now, just by reading the landing page, I can assume that Demiurge Inc. has been incredibly beneficial to society. Now, one of the more intriguing pages that I found was under the About section, where they outline their drive for exploring new limits, dimensions, and multiverses, which I suppose confirms to us that the multiverse is canonically real in this universe. They also underline this by mentioning that it is their mission to make the impossible achievable. But what particularly caught my eye was down here, under our history, which unravels a whole boatload of lore that we have never seen before. And this really makes Demiurge Inc. feel more real. Our history. The origins of Demiurge Inc. are as elusive as the dimensions we study. While traditional records suggest that the founding date was 1990, our own research has uncovered anomalies indicating that the laboratory may have existed long before any formal establishment. Some of our earliest experiments appear to reference the company itself decades before it was known or discovered. These experiments, encoded in fragments of lost timelines, hint at a self-referential loop of creation. Demiurge Inc. was not just founded, it was in a sense discovered, possibly even by itself. The timeline of our foundation remains uncertain, with some theorizing that Demiurge Inc. may have created its own inception points, looping back through the very multiverses we now explore. Whether a product or a paradox, an artifact or dimensional manipulation, our existence is as much a mystery as the phenomena we seek to understand.
Now, this is really weird. Demiurge Inc. wasn't founded, but it was discovered, officially becoming an organization in the 1990s. So something's up, and that tells me that Demiurge Inc. was obviously a subject to time travel, what Demiurge themselves called a self-referential loop. So essentially, Demiurge created itself. Weird shit.
Now, expanding the history of this company, they mention that witnesses from the era noticed that buildings materialized overnight, and some kind of reality manipulation must have happened here, because reports say that the individuals in this era just simply came to the conclusion that the facilities that randomly appeared just had always been there. So there had to have been some sort of manipulation that happened here. Somehow, this all has escaped notice. It mentions further that from the start of Demiurge, great minds of all disciplines found themselves drawn to join the team, many of whom couldn't recall how they found the lab, almost as if an unseen force drew them there. Weird. Now, this is all very curious, and I believe this gives us enough information to theorize on what really happened here. Now, Demiurge Inc. is a company that revolves around reality manipulation, which can relate to things such as accessing new dimensions and even time travel, where they question if the company was created in another universe and somehow looped back into this reality here. And I think it makes sense that this could just be some massive accident, merging two realities into one. But we don't really know yet. They also mentioned that Demiurge Inc. may have been a product of a self-consistent paradox, aka time travel, which I think explains how there would be anomalies relating to the company decades before it was founded.
My problem with this though is that there are just too many holes in how time travel works. Because when you break down the laws of time, when you bring time travel into the equation, everything just falls apart. So obviously this is a big stretch. So the only way for time travel to work in this universe that we're covering right now is if the universe is able to magically correct itself whenever time travel occurs, basically sealing the loop that time travel would normally create.
Now, I have a lot of theories, but we have a lot of history that we need to look at, so let's dive right back in. Now, right under this, we see 1995, the Greyfield anomaly, and this is going to be huge for us, as it uncovers a lot of the mystery that we had with the Greyfield website we found earlier. The discovery of what is now known as the Greyfield anomaly marked a significant turning point in the lab's research. During an experiment on quantum frequency dispersion, researchers inadvertently opened a rift that led to the Greyfield, a dimensional void space existing in a state of quantum flux. While initial reports suggested disaster, further study indicated that the Greyfield may hold the key to understanding interdimensional travel and the very nature of time loops and the laboratory itself. So this website is actually a physical place, just not in our dimension, as it resides in between dimensions, acting as a void space bridge between parallel universes. And it would actually make a lot of sense if this was where Voidman, Reggie, and Lime are, as they seem to be trapped in this kind of void space as well. Now, something to note is that in this interdimensional place, time would act completely different to how we experience time. And given the fact that the Greyfield was discovered in this quantum-related experiment, I believe in order to enter enter the Greyfield in that case, you would have to enter a quantum state. You would have to become quantum in a sense. But now we have a problem, because this adds quantum uncertainty. Due to the nature of this void space, this may add a level of unpredictability to how time functions and moves in space. Now, Voidman mentioned that all of his memories have been this series of short loops, and he can't remember much else. And every video that he appears in has this level of unstable randomness to it, which may relate to the quantum aspect of all of this. And also, with the loops, I guess entering the Greyfield could also throw Voidman in a bunch of indefinite loops, because time would be crazy over there. Now, something I want to dissect here is the name. Greyfield Ghost Box. A Greyfield is commonly known as areas in cities and towns that are unutilized in a sense and outdated. A location that kind of just sits in the background and no one really goes there. Now, where it gets weird is the other half. Ghost Box. A ghost box is a device used for communicating with the dead. Yeah, this device scans through the full radio frequency spectrum to uncover anomalies that could have been communications from ghosts, which is wild. And this might hint at a larger purpose behind this name. Greyfield Ghost Box. It's a desolate, underutilized area that is empty, and Ghost Box might be alluding to the fact that there could be ghosts in the area, but there also it might be something else. I think it's probably something else. I don't think it's that direct, but it's interesting. Now, underneath this, it continues on a year later, 1996, the Reality Stabilization Project. Following the Greyfield anomaly, Demiurge Inc. launched the Reality Stabilization Project, RSP. This initiative sought to control and harness dimensional shifts, with the ultimate goal of stabilizing entire realities. The RSP became the cornerstone of Demiurge Inc.'s research, as the team focused on understanding mechanisms that govern dimensional stability, preventing catastrophic collapses in newly discovered dimensions. Early efforts involved the creation of containment fields capable of isolating unstable dimensions. But as the project progressed, the team moved toward more advanced techniques of reality tethering, using anchors to keep dimensions from drifting out of sync with our own universe. This allowed Demiurge Inc. to not only explore new dimensions safely, but also to intervene in unstable realities, reinforcing their structures before they could collapse. Now, this is a massive achievement for just a year's work, and this tells us that Demiurge Inc. is actively working to be able to do safe exploration in the Greyfield. It's not exactly a reality of sort, but it's in between realities. It's weird. It's really weird. Now, going further, we dive more into the groundbreaking achievements that Demiurge has accomplished. 1998, government contracts. Demiurge Inc.'s work in dimensional manipulation did not go unnoticed. By 1998, the company had secured multiple contracts with the DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, aimed at exploring the potential for military applications of dimensional tuning. These projects involved the development of technology that could theoretically phase objects in and out of physical dimensions, leading to the creation of highly advanced, nearly invisible defense systems. The lab's profitability soared during this period, with a substantial portion of its research being funneled into classified government programs. 2001, Black Ops weaponization initiatives. In the aftermath of securing high-level contracts with the US government, Demiurge Inc. began collaborating with major weapons manufacturers. The focus shifted towards the practical application of the lab's discoveries in the realm of military technology, including weapon systems that could disrupt enemy communications and destabilize dimensional fields. Projects like these were heavily classified, leading to speculation about Demiurge Inc.'s deeper involvement in covert Black Ops projects. High profitability followed as government agencies and private defense contractors vied for access to the lab's cutting-edge technology. And then things began to get a bit interesting. 2008, the Collapse Prevention Initiative. With the ever-present threat of universal collapse, Demiurge Inc. spearheaded the Collapse Prevention Initiative, a then top-secret project aimed at preventing the disintegration of known dimensions. This period also saw the rise of Dr. Orion Val as one of the lab's leading minds, whose groundbreaking work on quantum fissures allowed for greater control over interdimensional frequency shifts. And I just want to point out the obvious person that was in that note there. Dr. Orion Val.
And I just want to say, this guy's important. 2015, first contact. In 2015, Demiurge Inc. made its first contact with a parallel version of Earth. The experiments that led to this discovery remain classified, but published journal articles and news reports indicate that this event fundamentally changed the way the lab and quantum science itself views multiverse travel. The knowledge gained from the encounter spurred further developments in dimensional overlap, studies that fundamentally shifted the course of Demiurge Inc.'s research and experimentation yet again. Then we find ourselves at present day. So this tells us that this isn't happening in the past. This is currently happening, present day. Demiurge Inc. stands at the forefront of multiverse exploration and manipulation. With projects spanning dimensions, the lab has become a beacon of innovation and intrigue. Yet, for all the knowledge we have gained, the greatest mystery remains. How did it all begin? Perhaps we will never know if Demiurge Inc. was a product of human innovation, or if it has always been outside of time, waiting to be discovered once again. Now, this right here is a goldmine of lore, and there is just so much to take in. First of all, this does confirm to us that we are in the present day. Another note is that Demiurge Inc. has made a contact with another version of Earth in a different dimension, which is wild, and this seemed to spark some concern internally. I assume at least, as they began making further developments in dimensional overlap, to probably better understand how to avoid two dimensions merging into one. The last thing that definitely should not be looked over though is when they dropped an individual's name. Dr. Orion Val. They mentioned his groundbreaking work with quantum fissures, which are kind of just wormholes. These quantum fissures on a quantum scale would mean just little cuts in space that allow you to travel to different areas, and it doesn't really matter how far they are apart. On a quantum scale, this would mean that there are little tiny fissures and cuts through space-time, briefly opening and collapsing, and using this would theoretically create a wormhole. They also mention his groundbreaking work with interdimensional frequency shifts. Now, there are many theories with the multiverse, but some theories suggest that each multiverse, or each universe, has their own vibrational pattern, and somehow nailing this vibrational pattern may open the doors for us to safely travel to these multiverses. Safely. Think of it this way: if you enter a new universe with your vibrational pattern, your kind of code, I don't know what it would do to you. It would probably just spit you out, or you would just disappear. Something like that. It wouldn't work with you. But if you changed your vibrational pattern, it might not recognize that you're not from this universe, and it will keep you, and you will be safe. I want to tell you right now, that was all made up. I have no idea how that works. And nailing this vibrational pattern may be the way to travel into another universe without collapsing it, or at the very least have some effect on it. On top of this, shifting frequencies are known to alter quantum states, and in many cases could generate different quantum energy levels within atoms and molecules. So I suppose this could be the way to stabilize or even destabilize different universes, or even the Greyfield potentially. Now, this is all very interesting, and by the sounds of it, Demiurge Inc. seems to be the cornerstone of the world's science and innovations and breakthroughs. But let's be honest, it would just be too good to be true if this company had good moral values, because a company like this probably has a darker side to it. And when diving into the legal section of this site, it confirms my suspicion. Very much confirms my suspicion. It is an evil company, 100%. Demiurge Inc. acknowledges the potential for catastrophic reality warping events, including but not limited to reality fractures, timeline disintegration, universal implosions, dimensional inversions, and multiversal collapses. By engaging with our services, you acknowledge that such events, while rare, may result in total annihilation of one or more realities, irreversible alteration of the fabric of existence, or the spontaneous creation of alternate dimensions where different laws of physics and mortality may apply. In the event of such occurrences, Demiurge Inc. assumes no responsibility or liability for loss of life, sanity, existence, or continuity of being. Clients and participants waive any and all rights
rights to sue, claim damages, or seek restitution from Demiurge Inc. or its affiliates in the aftermath of these events. Your participation in our services is entirely voluntarily and undertaken at your own risk. They also mention in events of non-lethal or non-reality ending events, Demiurge Inc. will offer some rehabilitation, but at the same time, they don't want to own up to many of their mistakes and possibly reality ending blunders.
I'm currently in my brother's house because I am no longer home. So yeah. But anyways, to what we were talking about. So the overarching image that we have here is a company that essentially likes to play God. There's no records of this company being founded, no records of it being built. It just appeared there and everyone kind of just went with that, assuming that it has always been there, making it pretty obvious that some sort of universal manipulation has happened here. It essentially materialized from nothing. Pretty weird, but regardless, it is time to address the elephant in the room. This login bar right here. But there's an issue. We don't have a username or a password, but thankfully somebody from the Freakbait Discord made a tutorial on how to find the passwords. The link is in the description if you want to join.
Yo, it's good chat. So if you want to find these passwords on demiurgeinc.com, you're going to go to inspect the element. And then from here, you're going to want to go to sources, and then in the static folder, you want to go till you find JS, and then you're going to want to go till you find main. And then obviously this will, I don't think this will be right up on the screen, but if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and then just come back up from there, it'll be right here. It will look like this, and you just copy the name and the password, and you're good to go.
But weirdly enough, the deeper and deeper I went into the source code, I started to notice something that stood out. A phrase that just kept repeating itself. If you are reading this, you have lost the game. Now that has me wondering, what game is it talking about? What are we talking about? My only thought that it could be would be the ARG. If we're reading this, we just lost the ARG. What I'm thinking is by reading this or by going this deep into the ARG, you essentially initiate something. You initiate a process. It's the start of something that causes you to lose. That's my deepest thought that I can have about it. But I really don't know what that means. And we kept seeing this phrase over and over again, highlighted in green so we know it's talking to us. If you are reading this, you just lost the game. So this is all really weird, and we're gonna dive a lot more into this later on into the ARG. Hey, I'm currently in an airport right now. Don't mind that. I actually think I'm wrong about this. Wrong about all of the you lose the game kind of thing. Because in the source code, right above all the you lose the game stuff, it actually mentions that this isn't supposed to be analyzed for the ARG, and that might be true. I'm just keeping it in the video because I personally just don't believe it, just in case, you know? But it's probably not important because he said it's not important, so yeah. So, the weather today. Wow. Freakbait also left a bunch of little fun Easter eggs as well in the source code. And if you want to see that, it's in this members only video right here. So you just have to become a member. Yes, I'm trying to squeeze money out of you. Go watch it. But scrolling down a bit more, we eventually find ourselves at this tab right here called Users. And this tab holds 6 different logins for us, all staff members of Demiurge Inc., formatted with the first letter of their name, ending with their last name, like M. Manhav, R. Baker, B. Cross, and O. Val, which, you know, stands for Orion Val. And thankfully for us, all of the passwords are right there, which makes it really easy for us. Now, let's start off with a login into the admin account. When we log in, we see 3 new tabs on the side: Experiments, Files, and also CCTV. Starting off with Experiments, it reveals to us all of the staff members' full names. We have Dr. Raymond Baker, Dr. Amelia Cross, and also Dr. Prescott, which weirdly enough we didn't see in the Users tab. This one's new. We also see Dr. Nicholas Manhav, Orion Val, and at the end we see Dr. Evelyn Strauss. All of these characters will become very well known later on in this story, trust me. But this is really weird. Why were they all listed under the Experiments tab? That's odd. This could be a stretch, but it could mean that all of these scientists here are a part of this massive overarching experiment that none of them are aware of. And they're all guinea pigs in this experiment. But is that really the case? What's really happening here? Why are they all listed under the experiments tab? Are they all a part of this big overarching experiment that they're unaware of? What's going on here? I know it's been a solid 5 months since part 1, but I'm gonna tell you right now, things are gonna start picking up much quicker, all right? You're not gonna be waiting 5 months for the next episode. As of recording this, I have already recorded part 3, so we're good on that part. So subscribe to the channel and get us to 50,000 subscribers so you don't miss out on the series. So much more episodes are going to be coming out, and you're going to regret if you don't subscribe. But in the meantime, it's always fun to dive into other ARGs, so go ahead and check out this video right here where I dive deep into the Lorify ARG created by MatPat. Yeah, that MatPat. It's a really deep music-based ARG, and I've never really tackled something like that before. The story surrounds a protagonist named Taylor, and there's a kidnapper, and that's kind of about what's going on here. So check out that video right there.